Yes. Let's kick it off with that video that you were sharing me with. I think his name is Jake, where he was doing, is it Jake Knapp, right?
Jake Knapp.
Yep. Where he was doing bodybuilding exercises, that row machine that I know you and I are very familiar with, especially you from the bodybuilding days from the good old Iron Paradises, whether it was Exile or Gold's Gym. But we had a wonderful conversation. I'd love to bring that back up and get your thoughts on. Uh, you were sharing with me kind of where he was, what had happened, and now as he started to implement more weight training, things have started to turn around for him. So dive into all of that.
So with Jake Knapp, he just won the Classic tournament last week at the PGA National Members Club. I guess it was 2 days ago. On Sunday, he finished up, and a video has gone viral around his training because it's a lot different than what we normally see when it comes to PGA Tour training. So it just has him training like a bodybuilder, right? It has him doing rows on a machine that's fixed. It has him doing incline bench press, dumbbell bench press, all this other stuff, where it's just a sigh of relief for me to see him not lunging forward with a medicine ball and twisting and throwing it against the wall, right? He's training for strength and size and muscle and all those sorts of things. I think his direct quote was, "I never want to be in a situation on the golf course or a lie where I don't think that I can handle it physically." And that's beautiful. And I want to get into why this was such a breath of fresh air for me, because I mean, over the last 10 years. Since I started bodybuilding, I was always a golfer in college, and then I always played golf, so I wanted to be good at golf, but I always wanted to develop a physique that I was proud of as well. And then marrying those two things turned out to be really good, and it made me have a very specific outlook on how I see the professionals play at a high level. And seeing a person that's on top of the leaderboard in the PGA or Professional Golf Association has just kind of made me feel better about it, because I see Justin Thomas, Max Homa, all the way all these guys train, they're always showing twisting motions violently with something weighted, or
And typically, like in that off fixed position that you're never really in as a golfer swinging, like
yeah,
that lunge, like
that's fine, because they're trying to work on stability and core strength, but they're also
yeah,
twisting how they do it, or they're throwing a medicine ball as hard as they can against the wall. And my biggest thing is during this is they get plenty of that repetition on the course. Uh,
yes,
and you see a lot of injuries by talking to some of these pros. You see a lot of injuries through the way that they train, first of all, but also you see a lot of injuries in the lower back just over time and breakdown.
yeah,
And it's because they're constantly swinging. They're constantly swinging very hard and twisting their spine while they do it. And these movements don't necessarily build up the things that are protecting your spine. They're building up your obliques, and they're just making you twist more. So now you're working out once a day and you're making that twisting motion. And then you go to the driving range, you hit 100 balls making that twisting motion, and you go, you play on the course, and you're doing another 70 strokes doing that twisting motion. And the main problem becomes, over time, that's going to break stuff down, and it's not necessarily strengthening or stopping that breakdown over time, or securing the thing that's going to break down over time.
Let's talk about that real quick, because I've noticed the same repetitive injuries with lacrosse and hockey, especially hockey. In lacrosse, you have more of an opportunity to shoot both righty and lefty, whereas like hockey is obviously more fixed, right? So there's so many continued repetitions on one side, and it's more of force generators, and there's never really one counterbalancing that, two working on the absorption of the force. And one of the biggest things that I've seen, we actually one of our one of the girls on our team is now out for the whole year, as I was telling you the other day, where from a forearm injury. And one of the things that I had noticed was like, having worked on a lot of forearms with the guided healing technique, part of that with the bicep and the shoulder, is so much of when they're shooting it is with the wrist and throwing it and trying to produce all that force in their arms and not allowing all the other force they can generate with their lower body and their core do the work for them. And it's kind of like same thing where you're just drilling the same thing to get better, yet you've never, one, fixed any compensations, two, you're not addressing the absorption of that, and three, the biggest one, you're not allowing for all the repetitions you've been doing to fully integrate, heal before you're continuing to do it again. Whether it's like you mentioned, loaded with the medicine ball, then you're doing more force, torque oriented swings, then you're doing more fine tune where it's more about placement and positioning for when you're actually out there. And I think one of the biggest things over time that I know we'll discuss a lot more about is being intentional with the amount of repetitions and also being more intentional with allowing rest to play its a bigger role in allowing you to continue to get better. Because a lot of times I think um, it's very easy to get caught up in that mindset of we got to be doing something. If I'm not doing this, I need to now go do this to get better. And then I need to do this to get better. Well, like you mentioned, all of those things are just different stimulus of ways that we're breaking down the body, that the body needs time to heal, recover, integrate, and grow from. That I feel like is most oftentimes maybe not as well addressed or overlooked when it comes to like the nutrition that we were talking about, the way that you eat, as well as like the rest and stuff.